I never thought marriage could sound like silence. Not peaceful silence and the kind that hums between two people who have run out of words. I'm Daniel, 38, and I used to think love meant patience. Turns out sometimes it just means endurance. When I met Laura, she was electric. Everyone noticed her. The way she laughed, the way she filled a room without trying. I was quieter, more grounded. Maybe that's why we worked in the beginning. Her chaos, my calm. But over the years, that balance turned into background noise. Her voice louder, my presence smaller. The first time she said, "Don't take everything so seriously," was after I found texts from some guy named Travis. Nothing intimate, just flirtatious enough to sting. She brushed it off with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You're overreacting," she said. I wanted to believe her, so I did. That's what you do when you love someone. You rewrite reality until it stops hurting. But small cracks became quiet distances. She started working late, dressing up for girls' nights, leaving her phone face down more often. I asked gently if we were okay. Her answer was always the same. "You're too sensitive." Funny thing is, when someone tells you that enough times, you start believing it's a flaw instead of a feeling. Still, I tried. Date nights, flowers, weekends away. She met every gesture with the same amused indifference, like she was humoring a child. Once, when I suggested counseling, she laughed. "Marriage isn't therapy, Daniel. It's supposed to be fun." "Is it fun for you?" I asked. She smiled, slow and deliberate. "Most days." That night I lay awake beside her, listening to the soft rhythm of her breathing and realizing it didn't comfort me anymore. It just reminded me how far away she was, even inches from me. Months passed. Our home became polite, civil. We spoke like coworkers sharing a kitchen. Then one evening, while I was fixing dinner, she looked up from her phone and said casually, "You know, if you don't like how things are, you can always find someone else." I froze. The way she said it, smiling, almost teasing, made something in me shift. She expected a reaction, anger, maybe a plea, but instead I felt nothing. Just clarity. It wasn't the words that hurt. It was the ease with which she said them. For years I'd been chasing a version of her that didn't exist anymore. Maybe she never did. Maybe I was in love with a memory, so I started pulling back. Not with resentment, with peace. I stopped explaining myself. I stopped fixing things she didn't notice were broken. I went to the gym again, joined a running group, started cooking for one instead of two. She noticed, of course. People always do when the attention they took for granted disappears. "Going somewhere?" she asked one evening as I put on a jacket. "Yeah, meeting a few friends." "Since when do you have friends?" she joked. "Since I stopped waiting for you to come home," I said. She rolled her eyes, pretending it didn't land. But something in her posture changed, a small flicker of unease. A few weeks later I met someone, Emma. She wasn't dazzling like Laura. Not the kind of woman who filled a room. But she listened. She laughed easily. She asked how my day was and actually wanted to know. We met for coffee twice a week, then dinner once. Nothing inappropriate, just connection, the kind I'd forgotten existed. One night Laura asked if I could help her move some boxes in the garage. As we worked, she glanced at me and said, "You seem different lately. Cold." "I'm not cold," I said quietly. "Just done being warm where it's not wanted." She smirked again, that same dismissive little twist of the mouth. "Don't like it," she said. "Find someone else." I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in years I didn't feel pain. Just truth. "I already did," I said. The smile froze. Her eyes flickered, confusion giving way to panic. For once, silence didn't feel empty. It felt final. For a long moment she just stood there, mouth half open, like her brain couldn't quite process the words. Then she laughed, sharp, too loud, a sound meant to fill the space before reality settled in. "Cute," she said, shaking her head. "Trying to make me jealous now?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Silence carried the weight she'd never let me speak. She followed me into the kitchen, voice a notch higher. "So who is she? One of your gym friends? Or that woman from work who keeps liking your posts?" I rinsed my hands, wiped them on a towel, and said evenly, "Does it matter?" The calmness in my tone unsettled her more than any accusation could have. She wanted drama, a fight to prove I still cared enough to argue. But I'd already spent years drowning in that noise. Now I just wanted peace. She scoffed and stormed off, muttering something about midlife crisis. I let her go. For the first time, I realized I didn't have to chase the conversation anymore. I'd been running after her for so long that standing still felt like freedom. That night, she slept on her side of the bed, back turned, phone glowing faintly in her hand. I looked at the light spilling across her shoulder and thought about how long I'd mistaken distance for loyalty. Love doesn't always leave in a grand exit. It fades quietly while you're still holding the door open. In the days that followed, she tried different tactics. First anger, cold remarks, slammed drawers, sudden questions asked just to pick fights. Then curiosity. Where are you going? Who are you meeting? Finally, concern. You've been quiet lately. Are we okay? But the thing about clarity is, once you have it, you can't unknow it. We're fine, I said. Just heading in different directions. She didn't like that answer. Maybe she expected me to beg or to explain, but the truth needed no defense. One evening, while we were both eating dinner at the same table for the first time in weeks, she asked, "Are you sleeping with her?" I looked up from my plate. No, but I'm honest with her. That's something I can't say about us anymore. Her fork froze halfway to her mouth. I saw her eyes soften just slightly, the first crack in her armor. She whispered, "So this is it?" "This was it a while ago," I said. "We just kept pretending." The next morning I packed a few bags. Not everything, just what was mine. I didn't want to leave in anger. I wanted to leave right. I left her the house, the furniture, the comfort of her routines. I took the things that still had life in them. My clothes, my books, my peace. When I reached the door, she appeared behind me. "Daniel, wait," she said. Her voice was trembling, stripped of sarcasm. I didn't mean it, you know. That day in the garage, I was just joking. I turned, met her eyes, and for the first time, I saw fear, not the manipulative kind, but the real one that comes when someone finally realizes you're serious. "I know you were," I said gently. "But you meant the comfort behind it, the part that assumed I'd never actually leave." She swallowed hard. "And this other woman? Is she why?" "No," I said. "You're why." She just reminded me what being seen feels like. For a second, neither of us moved. Then I reached for the handle. "I hope you find what you were chasing," I said. "I'm done being the thing you run from." Outside, the air felt lighter. The night sky looked cleaner, sharper. Freedom doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just exhales. A week later, I met Emma at a small cafe. She asked how things went. I told her the truth, no drama, no bitterness. She smiled softly and said, "So what now?" I laughed. Now I remember who I was before I started apologizing for existing. She reached across the table, touched my hand, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel the need to defend or explain myself. I just felt enough. Sometimes closure doesn't come from forgiveness or revenge. It comes the moment you stop auditioning for love that was never yours to keep. Laura texted a few times after that, short messages filled with nostalgia and confusion. I answered none of them. There was nothing left to clarify because when she said, "Don't like it," find someone else, she never imagined I actually would. And when I did, the smile she'd worn so proudly turned to panic. Not because she lost me, but because she finally realized I was never hers to dismiss.